it's about all of us together, and those of you that are contributing, it's about you as well. So please help out, and we're gonna make this happen no matter what. If we just want to get it done,
Yes.
instead of 10 years from now, it'd be nice to get it done by October.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbander, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of I Have Something to Say. And this topic is very near and dear to me because 6 years ago, not only Orlando, but the entire world was shaken at its core by the tragedy at Pulse Nightclub here in Orlando, Florida. And the community came together like I've never before seen it come together. And so, in that process of trying to heal, I've been able to work very closely with someone that was already like family to me. But my God, talk about being joined at the hip after that. And then I was introduced to a friend of hers, right? And these are two community leaders that I want to introduce right now. It's my sister from another mister, Nancy Rosado. She's a has an extensive career in law enforcement as part of the NYPD uh, force, right? Retired New York City sergeant and first responder during 9/11. So a lot of experience with tragic events and things nobody should be experiencing, right? And the mental wellness that comes in its aftermath. And then now Nancy is she also worked a lot with PTSD programs to support people that have gone through trauma because she's also a licensed therapist, right? And now most recently, because I mean Nancy, I don't think you're ever gonna retire, but anyway, she's now working
We can
with
debate that.
yes, I know, with the Osceola Sheriff's Department here in Central Florida, and through the work during Pulse that we did regarding trying to address the lackluster support to the community impacted that was primarily Latino and Black from a cultural competency perspective. We also met, I was introduced to Michael Pilato, who's an artist that came to our region to do a tribute, a special tribute. I want to get into that for the families and to help the community and the world heal. And so here are my guests, and I'm just going to jump right into it by passing the torch over to Nancy, so I can shut up because this is just like some amazing work that you are all doing now in the aftermath. So let's start by just saying, Nancy, like, can you talk to me a little bit about what um what this event did to our community here locally and what you've seen it happen and the ramifications of it, right? Um, in so many other areas, not just about gun control and mental. I mean, just how does it affect the community at large, and then how Michael became part of our familia.
Sami, thank you for having us, and it's always a pleasure to spend time with my sister here. Um, when Pulse happened, it put a spotlight on some deficiencies in the community, and without pointing fingers and without beating on my chest, which Sami will tell you I do all day long about one thing or another. Um, there's a good part that comes out of tragedy, and that's the recognition of things that are missing, things that could be done better, and the attempts within the community to better situations like what happened at that time. Um, in a matter of a few hours, not only was Orlando impacted, like Sammy says, so was the whole world. So were communities, LGBTQ Latino communities across the country. Um, but here, one thing that we realized as a community, um, was that we were lacking in resources for the LGBTQ Latino community. Now, I belong to both communities. I've advocated for both communities for years, and at that time, because there was this intersectionality, there was a lot of fumbling on how to provide support services for the survivors and families of the victims. We found that for a community that was about 33% Latino, if you took away the fact that it was the LGBTQ community that was impacted, um, what we figured out that even if it had been a hurricane, what kind of cultural competency would have been shown to support just the Latino community? Because that was the crux of it, right? Immediately, the LGBTQ community jumped up, started doing, and started trying to put stuff together. But the fact that it was at that intersection with the Latino community made things awkward. It pointed out very clearly that there was a lot of misunderstanding about how these intersections impact the community at large and how we deal with these problems. So Sami, and two other friends, uh, self. At the beginning, it was quite a gaggle of us just serendipitously met in a hotel where they were trying to take care of the families. And it was just amazing, whether you were LGBTQ or not, um, the effort that this group of predominantly women, I think there may have been one male with us, I'm not quite sure, put their heads together and figured out, hey, we have to call attention to the fact that this is having a disproportionate impact on the Latino community. Um, and we stood up for ourselves, essentially, right? We By the next day we had a press conference going on, and we birthed a program that was actually aimed at the long term mental health care of these survivors, of these family members. Because remember, mommy and papi were not necessarily LGBTQ, but they were predominantly Spanish speaking. And finding providers for them became a chore. And all the entities locally, that receive funding and all the rest of that were having this huge problem locating um, mental health providers who could take care of both communities. But again, you recognize that why didn't they have Latinos on board before?
Right
From
from the get go.
from the get go, that a community with as large a Hispanic population as we have, you missed the boat here, guys. So we set about correcting that, and it was quite challenging, but we did make a dent in it. I'm not going to say we've changed anything to my satisfaction, but then again, I have very high standards. Uh, Along the way, in meeting survivors, I was told about this painter that had come into town, this muralist, um, and how they were attempting to begin a mural depicting the 49 who had passed away, depicting people who had helped in any way possible. And sometimes there was also government officials included and the survivors, but those who at the time really stepped up to the plate. And that's where I met Michael, and the kind, considerate soul that he was, because he did not look at the LGBT. LGBTQ aspect of it. He did not look at anything except those who were impacted. And of course, it dominated the brown and black community. And he didn't care. He went to town doing what he does best. And I'll let Michael speak to his prior accomplishments in terms of murals and what is this healing process that comes from seeing these 49 faces reflected in the mural. What is this knitting together of communities, because it's not just what happened at Pulse. There is representation from Sandy Hook. There's going to be representation from Uvalde. This broader vision of his that created a mural that stands about 40 feet long and about 14 feet tall. And I know I'm underestimating, but what a beautiful tribute to a very you no limit at depicting and trying to convey love and comfort at a time when really, really hard to find. Um, with that, I pass it over.
Yeah, yeah, and yes, like we've seen this mural, right? And we're gonna present it, so people know what we're talking about, and it's very impressive because it spans. What is it for? You mentioned 40 feet. Is
About
it
40
40
feet.
feet? About 40 feet right now, but it's going to be bigger, and it's just such a pivotal point, or like a big part of our history as U.S. Latinos, right? Living here on the mainland, and also of the diaspora, right?
Right.
This attack, right, on a community that's already like marginalized under the like two levels of marginalization, if not more, right? So it's something really powerful to see. And so then, Michael, how did you get involved, and how did this like, what's your why, first of all, to do murals, and what's your background, and when did you start, like, why are you driven, as an artist to make murals?
Um, well, I've been doing murals since I was a little kid. In my elementary school, my high school, there's murals that I was lucky enough to do because I had a great teacher, James Ritchie, who opened my eyes to that form of artwork. Mostly at the beginning, my first kiss was in front of a mural, and I realized when that happened that it was in an alley by a dumpster. Without that mural, that memory wouldn't have been there. So these murals, very quickly, I realized that they were the backdrop for the stage of life, and how wonderful over the years that people have actually gotten married in front of our murals, um, had life changing events happen in front of those spaces. But it wasn't until in the mural in State College called Inspiration State College. The mural in Orlando is called Inspiration Orlando United. And all the murals will connect. I'll get that to in a second. But in the mural in State College, I would put halos over the tops of the heads of people when they would pass away, and the family members would come out and paint those halos with me. And I was going out and putting a halo on a guy named Gene Letter, who was a firefighter in the area. He was also a lawyer, a philanthropist. He was a Penn State Renaissance person. And when I went out to put the halo on him, I got a call from my wife at the time, and she said, Michael, a little boy has just been hit by a car in front of Letterer Park, a park that the man had donated, and he died instantly. So I painted that boy in front of Mr. Letterer with Mr. Letterer's hand around him, and the boy's holding a little chalkboard that says love on it. And, invited the family out and the friends and the teachers, and they all came out and put their handprints with the boy, and they also wrote love on the chalkboard, and they still do to this day. It's getting thicker and thicker. And the mother said, I said to the mother, I was like, I think that they both would have taken the walk to the next, to heaven together. And she says that she sits across the street and has lunch with her boy, looking at the mural at the deli across the street. And I realized really then the power of art and what I loved about the work I do. So then September 11th happened shortly after that took place. And I did a bunch of work. I did a huge painting for the firefighters in New York. They were honored at Beaver Stadium where Penn State plays football. at halftime, and 4 of them came and got a tour of that mural. They went across the street to the restaurant. They're like, "Yo, Mike, come on for beer," you know. Went over
Yeah.
to a napkin of a firefighter, put 22 in the helmet, and wrote a poem for him. A week later, Tony Martin, one of the firefighters, sent me a picture of his cousin who died, and who was the last guy they brought out, and it was
Mm.
identical to the drawing I did in the napkin. And they honored me with crosses from the Twin Towers that I embedded in the murals, and then also the symbolisms of Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, tribalism, Confucianism, Taoism, Muslim, Buddhism, and even atheists. And the leaders from those communities came out and paid the metal from the back of the cross into those symbols. Every September 11th, I do a 48-hour visual where I work 48 hours straight, except for I missed one because I was sick. But I was working on one on the scene, the September 11th scene in a mural in Williamsport that's called Williamsport Inspiration, the world's largest outdoor portraiture mural. There's over 1,000 people on that mural, and I heard the news of Pulse, so I went out and I painted a mockingjay, which is the state bird of Florida, and orange blossoms, which is the state flower. And the LGBTQ community and supporters of came out and they each painted the 49 flowers on there. Deborah Beidel, who worked with Nancy with UCF Cares, I believe is the name of the organization.
Restores.
Restores
Restores.
with a post traumatic stress disorder. Amazing work they're doing there. She called me up and told me about the 2 students who were, or the student and alumni of UCF that were killed in the Pulse nightclub, and could I please paint the flowers touching up there for them? And I did, and then she put in my ear, you should come up to Orlando and do the work you do in Orlando. And I was thinking about it, and then right after that, I get a call from Shaman Hurst, who works with education here and kids and psychology, um, counseling, and she wanted me to come up and do a mural as well. And then when my daughter passed away a year before Pulse, um, a hawk visited me, and it does anytime something important happens. A hawk is flying above, and when Shaman asked me to come to Orlando, literally right in the parking lot where the mural was, a hawk came right down, swooped right above me, and went up. And I was like, I'm
Mhm.
going to Orlando. Pretty much
Mhm.
my daughter made the decision for me. And when I came to Orlando, a hawk again appeared when we found our studio, and it just kind of shows up everywhere. And I
Yeah.
tell that story to the Paul's families, the mothers. They see cardinals, butterflies. When you lose somebody, our necks hurt because we're looking up to the heavens all the time. But also we see things within life that reminds us and brings us back to that. So there's birds and certain things that are going to be put in the mural next to the children when parents tell me, or lovers or friends, um, things to add to those pictures. 80% of the people within that mural are of Hispanic descent. The mural um, also being saved by the Hispanic community. I'm Italian, but a lot of people think I'm Hispanic, especially working on this mural. But I feel like I've been welcomed into the community, and I'm learning a lot. I'm really
Yeah.
proud. I'm
And
really
so
proud.
the stories, yeah, and so the stories that are within the mural, right? Represent what? Like who, how did you go about selecting or choosing or figuring out where and how, right? To
So all
include
the
certain. Mhm.
oh, I'm sorry for interrupting. All of the inspiration murals that we do, they're grassroots. We call them living pieces of artwork. So you meet one person and you hear their story, and then through that person, they're inspired by somebody else's story. That other person, so you feel the inspiration coming from others, especially the family members. Of course, the mural started with 4 girls. They were the first 4 that I painted on the mural, and they're Kimball sisters, and they went out to give blood. They were too young to give blood, and they decided to make hearts out of paper, rainbow hearts, and on the back of
Mhm.
the hearts they put love always wins. And they had lost their father the year before, like I lost my daughter, and they were using that love of their father, like I'm used the love of my daughter, to do this project. And they've done over 60,000 hearts that they've handed out to people, and
Mhm.
I've been with them at Disney when they're handing them out, and you can see on these people's faces, some of them cry, they hug, they go, oh, I have 10 friends that were there, I had friends that passed, oh my God, this is so beautiful. They put it above their fireplaces next to their great pieces of artwork, is these little hearts from these girls, because it is true art. The
Mhm.
love is what produces art. So, Christopher Chanson Romanson Hansen, who was one of the survivors who ran out of pulse, and you saw him in the videos helping people, you know, saving people and bringing them. Chanson helped to introduce me, I believe, to you, Nancy, is how we first came together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then through Nancy and looking at the work that she did and learning her story, even through ORMC, I made connections with other people. And people would call me, email me, and then going to Puerto Rico, and having Myra Alvear translate, we met people in Puerto Rico and made connections there to meet more. Um, and it's a lot of work. The mural itself is probably 20% paint, and the rest of the work is the stories, the storytelling, the moving around, the fundraising. It's been that's been the challenging part, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But, we a lot of handshake deals,
Yeah.
and then COVID came and slowed everything down, I think is part of the
Yeah.
reason. But,
Yeah. And so
but
the
you know,
initial, the just to kick off the projects, though, this became very personal to you because, the initial investment was one like a huge investment of love. You mentioned how your daughter Sky showed up to you, and that
yeah,
really prompted, right? So how was that initial, right? Investment to just get the project started.
yeah. So my daughter, she passed away of an accidental overdose, like too many in this country. Um, and just a simple line, with some fentanyl in it, uh, brought her over, like just recently here in Fort Lauderdale. I think there were 10 students that passed away. Um, but after that happened, I had saved money for her education that I was going to help with her nursing school, and I used those funds to get this project started when I came up with the virtual reality, and also with Yuri Karabash, who was an artist that painted with me, renting studios and stuff like that. And we used a lot of us, including Nancy. We used our own resources and stuff, but we also had promises from the city um, for certain things that made those gifts a little easier, to tell you the truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but this project, all the projects that we've worked on dealing with tragedy, with gun violence, they're small parts of large murals. The whole mural
Mhm.
isn't just one dedication. This is the first project that we ever worked on that the full mural itself was to be for healing. Um, so politically, certain things happened that I had no idea would happen. Certain people, for example, wanting to be in the mural that shouldn't be in the mural. Um, just I don't want to get into it because this mural is about love and it's about beauty, and I
Mhm.
think when you look at it, you see that. So we're always positive and we're moving forward. But I have to tell you, my heart was broken when that mural was in storage. They say, when I had to move out of Orlando because I didn't have the money to my boat, living on my boat here. Um, they say that is art in a closet truly art? Or if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? So this
Mhm.
piece of artwork was in a dark area, musty, dark, not air conditioned, hot storage unit, and
Mhm.
it was expensive, and I mean expensive for an artist like myself. And I can't go out to the family members and ask them
Yeah.
for help because this is a gift to
No.
them. It's like impossible, and so I can't put it out there on social media that I need help because I don't want to hurt them. In
Right.
the process. So it was a very tricky situation, and Nancy had heard, not through me, she had heard that we needed help. And Nancy right away, immediately, went into action, and within days, the mural was being moved to the gallery.
That's
Um,
fantastic. That's fantastic. And now I know that there's plans. I know that you're currently working on finishing the mural, right? That you're adding to it, that you're adding some missing elements and some missing voices and stories to really give a broader, more expansive, right? Picture of
yeah.
that moment in history that transformed our lives, right? And so what are you adding to it?
Well, that's what I love. So in art. constructive criticism is the key to growth. And Nancy, through some family members, like Myra out here, we were talking about the middle of the mural. There's a large white woman's face, for example, Pam Swartz, who helped bring all this stuff from the Dr. Phillips Center, from Pulse, from ORMC, where the survivors went, what the world gave, all the letters, the articles, the dolls, and she helped save that. So to me, because like I said, this is a living piece of art. When I was there with the family members, with the friends and lovers, that really meant something to them. All the world coming together. So that was a highlight in the middle of the mural as time, and it should have been at that time, because when I gave tours to those people, I would remind them through that, and of course they would agree. And one of the things that they all wanted to say to the news, and they did say to the news, was, thank you, Orlando, thank you to the nation, and thank you to the world. And most of the time, you just saw the wife or the mother crying,
Mm,
and their words weren't getting out, and they were very frustrated with that.
yeah.
And so the mural growing and talking with the family members, now it's going to be angels in the middle with doves.
Mm,
They're angels, and the angels that are being represented are there's a beautiful graveyard in San Juan that goes right down to the water, so picturesque. And one of the victims was supposed to be buried there. He isn't buried there because of an ex-father burying him into a poor graveyard in Puerto Rico. That's another story. But in that graveyard, what do you say, Nancy? Like hundreds of angels?
Yeah, that I went to Puerto Rico when Michael told me he wanted a specific angel for that centerpiece, and I was concerned I wasn't going to find it, but it is huge. It really does stand out in the graveyard. And I photographed it from every angle. This was just this past May, and sent Michael the pictures of the angel he had chosen. And so now it's going to be the center of the mural. The important thing is that it comes from a Latin country. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it comes from the country that lost um, the most people at Pulse. So it's kind of befitting that it not be one of us who kind of chimed in later on to help. Not to say that what we did wasn't significant. Certainly, the work Pam did, Sami, the work that you did, and our comadres, um, is important. But the center should not be about. I didn't feel should be about us. And I really thought Michael was gonna scold me like it's my piece of art. Don't tell me what to put in. But it should have been to me something beyond those of us who are here and just kind of, like I said, chimed in later on. And that's when Michael came up with the idea of the angel. And then he was very picky about it. So we got him the images and he went right to work on it. So that's part of what's going to be added. Also, um, first responders, doctors. These are not omissions that were intentional as much as Michael explained it to me. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking for you, Michael, but
No, go
it
ahead.
was
Thank you.
the availability of these individuals. Like if someone didn't bring them to Michael for Michael to look at the person and include them in the mural, it wasn't going to happen. And we stayed kind of within the victims, and these some of them were tied to government, but others were people who had chimed in to help, like I had, like you had, Sami, and that's how they wind up in the mural. But as much as I begged other people, hey, come with
Yeah, like
me.
Sammy, you're going to be in the mural, by the way.
uh,
So
I,
there.
t- I,
Yeah, I can't be there by myself. Well, I'm still, there are these I don't know, three or four of us who are, as far as I'm, the big heads I call them, that Michael is included in the mural for the work we did. And I'm flattered, but Michael will tell you how many times I've begged him, would you mind just, I'm a little person, tuck me in a corner and do it. Um, but Sami, you work just as hard as I did, so if he
wow.
wants to include you.
I don't see it that way. And
Right.
again, you know, and I think that's why stayed away
Yeah.
from like this whole process, because I don't feel that I'm worthy to be
Neither did I,
on the
but you know,
in this piece. But that's a fight we'll take up off
off
camera,
camera,
right?
yes.
But it's very powerful that, you know, that you're also you interviewing the people, because I know that you see them, you want to meet them so you can, but you actually talk to them, because that's the stories behind
Yeah,
what
and since for
happened,
six
and their
years,
involvement are like an integral part. Like your colleague Charmaine is actually developing an entire curriculum that has the stories, so that way when the mural's in its final home, you'll be able to interact with it and
yep.
learn about the individuals that are presented there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And also another beautiful part of that curriculum is when it travels. It'll have curriculum, so when teachers come in with students, they'll have a guide to help teach them about resilience, acceptance, and what the mural's really trying to portray, you know, and to inspire them about people in the mural like Nancy. You know, Nancy jokes and says the big heads on the mural. All those bigger heads, you know, the sculptures like Matthew Shepard, Nancy, um, Pam, um, and now and the police officer who passed, Deborah Clayton.
Clayton.
Um, they're part of history, like 9/11, Pulse, um, Matthew Shepard's with, you know, sadly, the first real visible um, LGBTQ death in America. That was, you know, the young man who was dragged behind a truck and
Yeah.
killed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Pam with the museum, saving the artifacts at the museum, and
Yeah.
Deborah being somebody not of Pulse, but right after that was a law enforcement officer that died in the line of duty. Um,
Yeah.
so
And most recently, the tragedy at Uvalde, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Alethea
So when you say that
Ramirez.
it's a living piece, yes, yeah, yeah,
So
mm-hmm,
Alethea wanted to be an artist. You know, she actually
yeah,
was even looking at schools at 10 years old, art schools that she was going to go to, and her drawings are amazing. Her sketchbooks that her father shared, unbelievable. This little kid, the talent, where she was going. So on the mural, and you know, we have a little boy from the Boston bombing, a girl from Sandy Hook there with. So on the mural, she's gonna be that artist, you know, painting a dove, and the doves are gonna continue from her throughout the whole mural. The 49 doves going into the mural, you know. And in the drawing, I believe Matthew McConaughey showed the world when he talked about, because he's from Uvalde, he showed the little girl's drawing, and she's drawing herself as the self-portrait, and above her in the clouds is her friend that was killed in an automobile accident, drawing the same picture back, you know.
yeah.
So these kind of things, by having those doves going up into the clouds, you know what I mean, I really think it's beautiful. And the family's talking with the father, you know, Ryan. um, it just makes me really happy that he's going to know that her story of being a young artist is going to be shared and to inspire other young artists. And
And a big part also is the handprints. I know that some of the loved ones have had a hard time, you know, putting their handprints
yes,
alongside their loved ones, right? To have like that permanent connection with them on the canvas. And just recently, one of the Pulse moms, you know, we were witness to that she finally mustered up that courage to participate and do and go through that experience. And it was just so moving, Michael. You know, I really, I mean, just witnessing it, you know, it's just a testament to the love that your work emanates, right? It's like just so infused, it's so powerful to see. And even though it's a very sad experience and traumatic experience, you can't help but feel happiness, you know,
yeah,
when you walk across that. I mean, you start, you know, you could start anywhere, you know, and you just look at it, and you know it's based or anchored in a sad moment in history, but the joy, right? I know that you know, what does it feel like? I mean, because the level of detail and resemblance, I mean, it's just mind-boggling to see, like Nancy, like it's like, yes, that's Nancy, right? To see Chris, I mean, you know, to see Carlos Guillermo, it's like I see these people, you know, on this canvas, on this mural, and it's like, how do you do that? It's a gift, it's such a gift, but it's like just so freaking amazing to watch. What do you feel when you're conveying, right, you know, in through images, these stories?
Well, first the mother putting her handprint, that the most beautiful part of the mural, the handprints, just it touches my soul. It's healing for me, um, in many ways. There's a connection that we make, the that is you can't explain in words. It really
Hmm.
is the fabric of that piece of artwork. Um, the the love is what it's all about, and it's always been about. If it wasn't for the love, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
This is a burden in a way, as far as
Hmm.
they say you should have a house over your head and food, and this mural has not been easy for all involved. Um, and I'm not just saying this mural. It's as an artist, different times in your life, it's like a roller coaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and but what makes it worthwhile is that, you know what I mean. I could be sleeping in a box and have that mother, that hug that we both had after, and when she put her handprint in there, is the fuel that really fuels my passion to do the work that I do. And I believe it's the fuel that passions all of us. It's the fuel that passions Nancy to help, because we see firsthand the power that this piece has to help heal. And when I say that, I'm not saying in an egotistical way, because really, this piece, we're literally just the paintbrush. As I said before, the stories and the people within it, that's the true art of this piece. Um, and the dream at the beginning was to have it grow and grow and grow, involve other artists as well. You know what I mean? But the
Hmm.
funds weren't raised to be able to do that. But that's what I love as well too. When other artists get involved with projects, and he starts, for example, you want to bring a print out of it to Puerto Rico and have it there, but have a wall that was bigger. And in Puerto Rico, the amazing artists from Santuche, I think it's called.
Santurce, yeah.
Yeah, 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 and also La Parro, the amazing street artists, um, urban fine artists, we call them, to expand it. And so you asked earlier, we did something called the World Mural, where we went to Norway, Burma. We went to different places around the world and found artist walls, to do inspiration murals. And in the inspiration murals, we paint people, everyday people, people that, the woman that bags your groceries every day that makes you smile for 30 years, to the rocket scientist. Um, and we went around the world and we found that they had stories just like ours, exactly,
Mm.
stories of love, compassion. And we're like, why not take all these murals and stitch them together on the internet to make one huge mural called the World Mural. This mural that we're talking about today, Inspiration Orlando, is part of that World Mural, that network. So when I was saying to bring parts of it, let's say, print out to Puerto Rico and put
Yeah.
near the Paul's thing, where artists can use their styles to tell the stories of the people within their community that were affected by Pulse. We'll bring also, it'll metamorphosize from my style of art actually to a country's cultural style of artwork,
Yeah.
which was also important to me. Um, but this mural, it keeps on growing, it keeps on going in different directions. But
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good. It's like, if this mural went up last year, it wouldn't be what it is today. And
Yeah.
so everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that I'm glad for the suffering, because the
Hmm.
art is more powerful because of that suffering.
Yeah. And so right now, here comes the call to action, people. Here comes the call to action. Okay. Thank you, Nancy, for when you got the call that the mural was in the storage and it was in peril, for jumping in and doing what you do, right? You're like, no nonsense, let's get this done.
Yeah.
You know, yes. So thank you, Nancy, for doing what you do. and saving the mural. But now we want everyone's support to complete the mural. And so this is really an ask, a direct ask, to our family out there. Everyone that watches this podcast, please share it, um, and get in touch with us. You know how to reach us. So that way we can put all of our resources together. And when I say resources, like we need money, moolah, to finish the mural. We're talking the whereabouts of $15,000, which is really, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot, but with that, we can comfortably say, right, Michael, that by October, which is, we have like a big pride event here in the city of Orlando, right?
Mm.
What is it, Nancy? What's it called, Mama?
Our Pride event, Come Out with
Yes.
Pride. It's called Come Out with Pride.
Come out with pride, you see. And it's a parade. Yeah, we've been, you were the grand marshal a couple of years ago. I remember when we when
Yep.
we participated that year, Nancy. And so anyway, and that would be the goal. That would be, no, that is the goal. The goal is, and
Yep.
I know that we can do it. There's enough of us that are interested in preserving, right, this piece of art, and all of you now hearing us out and better understanding, right, what it means, and what it will continue to do in terms of healing the world, as we support Michael in finishing this piece of art, and finding a permanent home for it. So I don't know, any last minute words of encouragement, and to add to the ask, Nancy and Michael.
Yeah, sure. I understand that we don't always identify with certain communities and so on, but you know, in the end, this is they used to say the family of man. This is this is our community. We are, no matter how much we try to divide, no matter how much we let ourselves become polarized by political issues and other things that are going on. What happened at Uvalde, what happened what happened in Albany very recently, and we can go on naming them all. Um, Moments of history. Something like this mural unites us differently than just the pain that we feel and experience in these moments. And so, for me, the urgency in saving this beautiful work of art had a lot to do, I admit, with the fact that there were so many little brown faces on. And there was a specific community that was impacted, but it showed so much more detail beyond that. If you look in my eyes in the mural, you'll see the twin towers. I'm a survivor of September 11th, and in the other eye, you'll see Pulse. And off to the side of me, you'll see a Puerto Rican flag tattered, representing Hurricane Maria. And in all things, the one great thing that happens is that we manage to come together. We managed to pull it off, coming together and surviving and helping each other survive. But we could only keep that feeling, that sense going long term. So this project is for all of us. It does deserve a permanent home. It does deserve to be seen everywhere. It would be awesome if we could exhibit it in different places, but just like Sami says, without the money, A, it's not going to be finished, and B, not going to travel. So please, please, like Michael's work is not in vain. Our history that's recorded on this piece of art um, merits recognition and merits you caring enough to help us with this project. Please be kind.
Thank you, Nancy. And what
Thank.
about you, Michael? Any parting words to
Yeah.
encourage people to understand, the importance of just finishing this piece of art?
Well, it's like Yuri and I say our paintbrush is our weapon. After these tragedies happen, because we can show the love. To share the stories. These people that went in, they think they could just wipe these people out. You can't, and in many ways it becomes stronger. And so in a way, this mural is a piece of activism and is a way to fight back. I would let you all know that we have many other murals that we made a lot more money, and have charged more. The money that you're giving, you're not giving an artist who has a name a lot of money. You're giving an artist mainly to survive while he's doing this project. I'm not overcharging. I'm not, I'm painting this mural on my boat, which is my studio as well. So, um, it's hard for me to ask for money. As all artists, like when we're talking about things for ourselves, but this project isn't about me. It's not about Nancy. It's not about you, Tommy. It's about all of us together, and those of you that are contributing. It's about you as well. So please help out, and we're gonna make this happen no matter what. If we just want to get it done
Yes.
instead of 10 years from now, it'd be nice to get it done by October.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Nancy and Michael. I think it was just so important to do this, right? Because now it gives people an idea, right, of the weight
Mhm.
of the importance of this work of art. And it's 6 years in the making. Let's just get this done. It's gonna get done.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Sami.
much. Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for giving us the platform. Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. God bless. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
This concludes this episode of I Have Something to